Hello, I'm Corey Hello, and welcome to another episode of Critimation, where I review animated TV shows and films. As always, I do not own any of these films or shows. They are properties of their respected owners. Just in case you missed the opening, this film that I'll be covering is pretty mature, so if you have any sensitivity over the topic, it's best to skip this video. The film I will be covering is called Wizards by Ralph Bakshi. The film opens with Earth being destroyed by nuclear warfare, and after 2 million years, humanity has been transformed into mutants. Meanwhile, in the good lands of Montigar, fantasy creatures resurface and populate the area. After 3,000 years of peace, the Queen of Fairies, Delia, gives birth to a pair of twin wizards. Their names are Avatar, the kind-hearted good wizard, and Black Wolf, the evil muted wizard. After Delia's death, Black Wolf tries to take over as the new ruler, but is defeated by Avatar, after which Black Wolf is banished, but vows revenge as he leaves. 3,000 years later, Black Wolf takes over the dark land of Scorch and forms an army of mutants and demons. However, they lack the motivation to invade Montigar for him. Later on, he sends them to dig up old wartime technology from World War II. This includes a projector that showcases Nazi propaganda. By enhancing it with magic, Black Wolf is not only able to inspire his soldiers, but by projecting it in the sky, terrifies the elf troops that they attack into submission as well. Upon learning about this, Avatar sends a couple of elf spies out to investigate. Later on, Avatar meets up with the president of Montigar and his half-fairy daughter, Eleanor, where the president is assassinated by Necron 99, a robot assassin set by Black Wolf. After being taken out by Avatar, he is reformed as Peace, and through him, Avatar learns of the projector. Along with Eleanor and one of the elf spies, Weehawk, they set out on a quest to Scorch to destroy the projector and put a stop to Black Wolf's plan. While going through a forest, they encounter the mountain fairies and their leader, Sean. But the sudden disappearance of Peace, as well as an unseen assassin killing Sean, causes Eleanor, now deemed a traitor by the fairies, to be taken their prisoner. While Avatar and Weehawk search for her in the fairy sanctuary, they get separated. And while Weehawk is rescued by Peace from a hobo monster, Avatar is able to convince the Fairy King to let him and Eleanor continue the quest. They are then teleported to snowy mountains and are reunited with Weehawk and Peace along the way. Upon arriving in a desert, the group meet an army of elves planning to attack Scorch the next day. But that night, a demon set by Black Wolf launches a sneak attack. After Avatar defeats it, an army tank appears. Much to everyone's shock, Eleanor kills Peace and then jumps into the tank. The next day, while the elf army battles the mutant army, Avatar and Weehawk make it to Black Wolf's castle. After splitting up, Weehawk encounters Eleanor, but before he can kill her, she, along with Black Wolf's wife, who had betrayed him, learned that the reason that Peace was killed by Eleanor was because she was possessed by Black Wolf. Meanwhile, Avatar goes after Black Wolf and kills him by pulling a concealed pistol from his sleeve. Upon Black Wolf's death, the castle falls apart, destroying the projector in the process, and the mutants, leaderless, are defeated. After which, Weehawk returns to Montigar as their new ruler, while Eleanor and Avatar decide to start their own kingdom as a married couple. And in the film, now I know what you're thinking, that I'm going to start talking about World War II and everything, but we all know what World War II basically was. So instead, I'm going to talk about something that I think a lot of people who review this film fail to acknowledge, and that is the use of propaganda. As previously mentioned, Black Wolf uses Nazi propaganda to inspire his soldiers to fight, as well as to scare the enemy elves into submitting to them. In both cases, the sequence was being used as a metaphor for how propaganda works in real life. Basically, propaganda involves three things. One, it involves manipulating the masses into thinking a certain belief or idea. Two, propaganda is very one sided and treats one side of the issue as an absolute truth. And finally, propaganda plays with the prejudices and emotions of people who are watching. And through manipulation, makes them believe that the actions that they are taking soon after of their own free will, rather than just being told to do it. In the context of war, propaganda can either be used to help support the war effort or at the very least make the public hate the enemy. This is accomplished through at least one of the following. Propagandists can make use of the media such as radio and television to spread their message to a wider audience. This is based upon the controlled chaos theory, which means through the media, people in power are able to guide people on what they're supposed to do in order to get supporters. And since these people are usually authority figures, the public will most likely listen to them better, despite the half truths and lies that they are being told. Slogans were also common as they used simple words and phrases that were recognizable by the public. Basically, they were being treated much like commercials that tried to get you to buy a product. And through media itself, the news is able to spread the message to the public a lot easier, and through film and entertainment, are able to sneak subtle hints of the message into the plot. There's a good reason why all the superheroes from Marvel and DC are simply just coming out to save the city from the bad guy rather than using their resources for something good like solving world hunger or giving homes to the homeless. Basically, superheroes are just there to return everything to the status quo, considering all the villains are the ones that are actually bringing the change with them. But overall, the film gives a general idea of the tone of World War II, but it feels more like a story that has been passed down for generations, which explains the book in the opening sequence, which, while handwritten, feels like it was made on a computer. Overall, the film feels more like it's a spiritual representation of World War II rather than a historical one, as it uses the dehumanizing nature of enemies in such films like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, which have very subtle Nazi like imagery. In fact, Ralph Bakshi, who again was the director of this film, was born during the early days of World War II. So he knew from his parents what it was like growing up at this time. Visually, the film is an interesting case because it uses a mixed media-like approach, combining hand-drawn animation with live-action footage and rotoscope animation, using footage from Zulu, El Cid, Battle Vogue, and Alexander Nevsky for the rotoscope sequences. As for the backgrounds and artwork, artists such as Alex Nino, who was known for his comic book illustrations, was involved. Based on the artwork that I looked up, I'm assuming that he worked on some of the stills that were used in the film during narrated sequences. The backgrounds themselves were designed by two different artists. Mike Plug, whose credits include the original Ghost Rider comics at Marvel, appeared to do the majority of the backgrounds, mainly the scenes that took place in Mardi Gras. Backgrounds that served as the setting for Scorch were done by Ian Miller, whose still canon-inspired Gothic, if not surreal, artwork was a major influence on the setting for Black Wolf's Kingdom. In addition to the main cast who have worked with Ralph Bakshi in the past, one that notably stuck out to me was Susan Tyrrell, who did the narration for this film. And while she wasn't credited, she actually got the majority of her work afterwards from the narration of this movie, ironically. But perhaps most notably, Mark Hamill made his film debut just months before the release of Star Wars. This was possible when Ralph requested to Star Wars director George Lucas to give him time off to do recordings for the character of Sean the Fairy. And in return, Ralph agreed to change the title from War Wizards to just Wizards in order to avoid confusion with Lucas's film. As for my overall review of this film, I would say that while it's definitely not meant for kids, I feel like even if you remove the Nazi imagery, the anti-war message will still read pretty clearly to any generation. And considering that this was one of the earliest adult animated films, I would say that this is a definite watch if you're into those kinds of movies that are not afraid to dive into more deeper topics that most filmmakers would shy away from. Thanks for tuning in to Critimation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And follow me on Blue Sky. I'm open to suggestions, and I will see you next time.